I'm not the kind who falls in love easily. Or at least, that's what I used to say, almost with a sense of pride. Until that night. The party wasn't exactly my scene. It was a small gathering with Sarah's friends, my sister's crowd, people she knew from work, from yoga, or from one of those pottery classes she signed up for every now and then. I only went so she wouldn't complain later. I was standing in the corner of the room, holding a glass of white wine that had already lost its chill, wondering if I could slip out without seeming rude, when he walked in. Daniel. Tall, composed, steady gaze. He wasn't the kind of man who walked in making noise, yet his presence pulled every eye in the room. The kind of man who seemed to know exactly where he was and why. We were introduced by the cheese table, and his handshake was firm, direct. And I felt it. Really felt it. "Emily, right?" he asked, with that crooked half-smile. "And you're the only one here who doesn't look forced into it," I teased. He laughed, genuine. And he stayed. We talked for what felt like much longer than time should have allowed. The conversation flowed with such ease it felt unreal. He actually listened. Really listened. Not just waiting for his turn to speak. We talked about work, about failed trips, bad coffee, and good trails. His voice lingered in me, the kind you want playing in the background of a quiet day. When the party began to thin out, he offered me a ride home. I hesitated for a second, then said yes, and I was surprised at how natural it felt to be there with him, as though we'd known each other far longer than was possible. In the car, the radio hummed low and he left the window slightly open, the night air drifting in. We spoke less, but the silence wasn't heavy. It was good. The kind of silence that lets you breathe. When he stopped in front of my building, there was no awkward, "What now?" moment. He simply looked at me and asked, in a quiet voice, "Can I come up?" "Yes," I answered, without hesitation. We went upstairs. My apartment was dimly lit, just as I always left it before going out. He slipped off his shoes at the door, without me needing to ask. Sat down on the couch while I poured 2 glasses of red wine I had been saving for some occasion. The first time he kissed me was right there, before the first sip. No rush, no doubt. A full kiss. Calm yet certain, as if he knew exactly what he was doing and who with. We stumbled a little between the couch and the hallway, laughing, tripping over our own desire. We reached my bedroom like 2 people who had walked that path 100 times, even though we never had. It was intense, but it wasn't just physical. He looked at me as if he wanted to memorize my gestures, as if he was fully there, even in the smallest details. Later, lying in the dark with our legs tangled and our breath still uneven, he ran his fingers through my hair and whispered, "I think you're the surprise I never saw coming." And me, always quick with words, could only smile. The days that followed brought small, unplanned encounters. An afternoon at the street market, hand in hand between rows of bright stalls. A simple dinner at home, pasta cooked badly, but with good wine. Laughter in the supermarket, long conversations, glances that said more than words ever could. And on the 4th date, he didn't show. No message, no excuse, no trace. I texted him the next day. He saw it, didn't answer. 2 days later, I tried calling, straight to voicemail. And then came the silence. That specific kind of silence, the one left by someone who walks away without explaining why. The kind that doesn't let you close the door, that leaves everything open, messy. I spent weeks trying not to think about it, trying not to check my phone, trying to pretend it hadn't meant anything. But it had. It had meant everything. And I had no idea that I would see him again, in a way I could never have imagined. Weeks had passed since I let him into my thoughts. Or at least that's what I kept telling myself. The truth was, he still lived in the corners of my days, in the coffee that had turned bitter, in the playlist I avoided, in a scent that would rise from the street and make me turn my head, hoping it was him. Life went on, or it pretended to. Sarah called one Tuesday night, excited. She wanted my help with the engagement party plans. She said I was her person, that it made no sense to take that step without me by her side. Of course I accepted. She's my sister. I came straight from work, clothes wrinkled, tired, with no space to think too much. The party was beautiful, elegant, but simple, exactly how Sarah liked it. Warm lights, white flower arrangements, good food, and flutes of bubbly balanced in the hands of people who always seemed to know the right thing to say. I fixed a smile on my face and went in. I melted into hugs, the automatic questions about work, the soft soundtrack filling the room. Only when she called me over to introduce the groom did everything stop. He turned, and I froze. Daniel, my Daniel, who now was no longer mine. The same crooked half smile, the same calm look, but with a new title, my sister's fiancé. For a few seconds, I truly thought I must be hallucinating, that my mind had made it up, that I was mistaking someone else. But no, it was him. He recognized me too. He froze. That same instant of shock. That same dense silence. "Emily, this is Daniel," Sarah said, proud. "The love of my life." I wanted to laugh, to scream, to cry. Instead, I extended my hand and smiled. "We've met," he said quietly. "We've crossed paths," I finished steady. "Really?" Sarah laughed. "It's a small world. Too small." The next minutes felt like a silent torture. I listened to her speak with bright enthusiasm, explaining how they'd met at a charity event, how he was different from all the others. And I stood there pretending that nothing inside me was breaking. He avoided looking at me, but every now and then his eyes betrayed him. They drifted, returned, landed on me like a silent apology. That night I left before the cake. I said I had a commitment, that I was tired. Sarah hugged me hard and asked me to be a bridesmaid. I smiled, swallowed hard, and said yes. Weeks went by as I tried to digest it, trying to decide if I had imagined everything I'd felt. If for him, it had been nothing more than a distraction. Then he messaged, "We need to talk." My first instinct was to delete it, to ignore it, but I couldn't. We set a time at a cafe out of the center, a neutral place. A cloudy afternoon, the perfect weather for saying things you don't know how to name. He arrived early, tense. When he saw me, he tried to smile, but it was the nervous sort of smile that carries guilt in its pockets. "You disappeared," was all I could say. "I know," he replied, "and I'm sorry. That changes nothing. I didn't know she was your sister." The sentence hung in the air, heavy, raw. "And now you do," I said. "So what now?" He hesitated, took a sip of his now cold coffee, ran his hand through his hair like he wanted to pull the indecision right out of his head. "I can't get you out of my head," he said, "since that night." I closed my eyes and breathed out. "That shouldn't matter anymore." "But it does," he insisted. And in that moment, I understood the problem wasn't only what we felt. It was what we knew. I love my sister, and she loves him, and he loved both worlds, in different ways. But he loved them, and I was in the middle, unwilling, unchosen. But now a choice had to be made. I tried to resist. I swear I did. I did what any decent sister would do. I kept my distance, made excuses to skip the family dinners, the visits to our parents' house, the wedding planning meetings. But he was everywhere. On Sarah's phone screen, in the picture frame she had chosen so tenderly for her living room shelf. And worst of all, he began to show up in my thoughts before I fell asleep. In the middle of the afternoon, in the elevator, in the silence after a shower. It was on a Saturday night that everything finally fell apart. My parents had gone out of town. Sarah had spent the day meeting with the decorator, and Daniel showed up at my door. No warning, no excuse. "Just bringing back the book I still had," he said, with a smile that knew exactly how to lie. I should have closed the door, but I didn't. He came in with that composed, too calm demeanor. His eyes scanned my apartment as if searching for traces of us, and he found them. The wine on the counter, his coat still hanging behind the door, the playlist he had put on my phone that second night. Emily, just my name, and every bit of conviction I had collapsed. He kissed me like a starving man, like he wanted to erase the days we'd spent pretending nothing had happened. I felt anger, desire, shame. We stumbled up the stairs, tripping over our own boundaries. Reached the bedroom like we were coming home, and for a few minutes, or hours, I don't even know, I forgot everything. The wedding dress already ordered, the printed invitations, the promise he had made to someone else. The next morning, he was still there, sitting at the edge of the bed, face buried in his hands. "We have to stop," he said without looking at me. "You've said that before, but this time I mean it. Sarah doesn't deserve this." I stayed silent. I knew. Of course I knew. But what happens when you fall in love with the exception? When the right person is in the wrong place? He left. But he left a trail. In the crumpled sheets, in the scent on my pillow, in the taste that lingered on my lips. And even after he was gone, it wasn't exactly regret I felt. It was something more tangled, more cruel, a mix of longing too soon and fear he would never come back. On Sunday, I tried to fake normal. I washed the sheets, took 2 showers, put on something plain, as if fabric could cover the weight of guilt and keep it hidden. Sarah called that afternoon. "Come over tonight? Daniel's making dinner. Just us, nothing fancy." My throat tightened. "Tonight?" "Yeah. He wants to thank you for helping with the guest list. And, well, you two got along so well, didn't you?" Got along so well. She had no idea how much that hurt. I took a while to answer, but I agreed. It was as if a part of me was begging for punishment, or maybe for one more chance to see him, even if it was only for a few minutes, even if it meant being next to my sister. When I arrived, they were in the kitchen. Sarah barefoot, glass of wine in hand, laughing at something he had said. The light reflected on her face in a soft, beautiful way, as if the world were exactly where it was meant to be. Except for me. Daniel looked at me a second too long, too quick for her to notice, too slow for me to ignore. "Emily, sit. I made that risotto you mentioned," he said, like he was nothing more than the polite fiancé. With every bite, I asked myself how I ended up there. At what point I lost control. Was it with the first kiss? Or when I let him in without protest? Sarah was all smiles. She showed me the sketch of her dress. Told me the florist had promised white orchids, even out of season. And me? I just nodded. "And you, Emily?" she asked. "You're so quiet." "Just tired," I said. "It's been a long week." But it wasn't fatigue. It was the weight of carrying a secret that didn't belong only to me. Daniel cleared the table, and when Sarah went to the bathroom, he came closer. He didn't say a word, just touched my hand for a second that lasted far too long inside my chest. "This won't work," I whispered, without looking at him. "I know." "Then why are we still here?" He hesitated. "Because you confuse me." "And her?" Silence. He lowered his eyes. "She's a good person." "That's not an answer." "I don't know, Emily. I swear I don't know." Sarah came back, glowing, telling us they had chosen Aruba for their honeymoon. Aruba. As if the promise of a trip could erase what was happening right there. As if sun and sand could dissolve what we were trying so desperately to hide. Before I left, She hugged me tight. "Stay the night? The guest room's all set." "No, I need to finish some work." She walked me to the door, and when I closed it behind me, I stayed there for a while, hand still on the handle, the smell of risotto clinging to my clothes, the taste of wine mixed with bitterness, and a desperate wish to turn back time, to before that party, before that kiss, before everything. But time doesn't turn back. And now there were 3 people in this story, and at least one of us was bound to break. I said goodbye to them both, but something in me resisted leaving. I claimed I had forgotten my charger in the office. Sarah smiled and told me to grab it, that everything was open. I climbed the stairs slowly, my steps muffled. There was no music, no voices, just the faint sound of a muffled laugh drifting from upstairs. The hallway was dark, except for the sliver of light seeping through the half-open office door. I drew closer and froze. There they were, Daniel and Sarah, pressed against the bookshelf, kissing with hunger, with urgency. With the same intensity he once kissed me, his kiss was the same. His hands too, tracing her waist, her neck, her shoulders, as if each part had already been mapped on another body. I watched as he tugged at her blouse, clumsy with desire. She laughed, that soft, familiar laugh I had known since childhood. And he smiled, that same crooked smile he once gave only to me. My body froze in the doorway. It was like watching my own memory being reenacted by other actors, except they weren't others, and it wasn't an act. And then he saw me. His eyes met mine, but he didn't stop. He didn't let go of Sarah, didn't step back, didn't say a word. He saw me, and still, he went on, lowered his face to her collarbone, slid his fingers down her bare back, did with her what he had done with me, with the same tenderness, with the same hunger. And in that cruel instant, I understood. Maybe he kissed everyone that way. Maybe he was simply intense, with anyone. Or maybe it was worse than that. Maybe he just didn't know how to truly love anyone at all. I walked down the stairs in silence, breath caught, chest torn open inside. I didn't take the charger. I didn't say goodbye. The night was cold outside, but I didn't feel it. What hurt in that moment wasn't desire. It was doubt. The aching question of whether what we had lived was ever truly special, or just another scene in a script he knew too well. It was 2 days of silence, 2 days trying to erase the image that kept clawing its way back. Her blouse slipping from her shoulders, his mouth pressed to her neck, his eyes locked on mine. Without guilt, I ignored his messages, didn't answer his voice notes. But that night, when I heard the knocks at my door, I knew it was him. I didn't need to see. It was the kind of presence you feel before it happens. I opened. Daniel stood there drenched from the rain, his shirt clinging to his body, his eyes bloodshot. Whether from exhaustion, alcohol, or regret, I couldn't tell. Maybe all 3. "Let me in," he said softly, as if asking permission for something that had already happened. I hesitated, but I stepped aside. I closed the door behind us, and for a moment, everything was still, until he spoke. "What you saw, it wasn't what you think. You were with her, Daniel. I'm not stupid." "I know, but it's not that simple. It's exactly that simple." He drew a deep breath and came closer, placed his hands on my face with the same old tenderness. "I can't get you out of my head, Emily." And then he kissed me, as if all this time had been nothing but waiting, as if his body had been storing that kiss since the first night we met. It wasn't a gentle kiss. It was rushed, angry, filled with the ache of something that never even had the chance to become routine. My hands found his neck, his slid to the hem of my blouse. We stumbled up the stairs, tripping over our own steps. The room was dark, but it didn't matter. He laid me down with a mix of care and desperation, as if he wanted to mark every piece of me with something he knew could never last. That night wasn't about love. It was urgency. The bitter taste of an ending before there had ever been a beginning. Our bodies moved together as if they had known each other for years, as if we were saying goodbye to something that never truly was. He whispered my name against my skin. I gripped his shoulders with a force that hurt more in my soul than in my hands. And when it was over, we lay in silence, him beside me staring at the ceiling. "I'm not calling off the wedding," he said, almost in a whisper. I closed my eyes, swallowed the dry sob rising in my throat. "I know." He looked at me with a heaviness in his chest he didn't even try to hide. "But I needed to have you at least one more time." "And now that you have?" I asked. He didn't answer. He just stood, slipped on his damp shirt, and left. He didn't look back, and I didn't ask him to stay. White flowers arched above, tall candles lined the aisle, and a string trio played just softly enough not to distract, but loud enough to cover uneasy sighs. I was there, wearing a deep teal dress, hair pinned back, makeup too light to hide what my eyes still carried, a bridesmaid, with a borrowed smile. I watched Sarah walk in, beautiful, radiant, holding her bouquet as though it carried her very future. And then I saw Daniel, dark suit, light gray tie, smiling as if nothing were out of place, and maybe nothing was. Maybe the mistake was only mine, confusing urgency for love, a body for a promise, a fleeting moment for destiny. Through the ceremony, I stayed silent. I listened to the vows, the exchange of rings, the applause, the kiss, and every gesture of his, every tender touch on her hand, every lingering glance, every genuine smile. Each pierced me like a quiet warning. He loves her. He never promised me anything, but my heart believed anyway. And now here he was, before everyone, choosing her. At the reception, I kept to the margins, avoided photos, toasts, dancing. I sat in the farthest corner of the hall, beneath the dimmest lights. From a distance, I watched them dance. His hand held her waist with that same steady grip I knew. He twirled her gently, whispered something that made her smile, and I kept watching. Without realizing, my gaze lingered too long. Without noticing that the world around me kept spinning, while mine had stopped right there. That's when I heard a voice. "You're looking at the groom a little too much." I turned, startled. Behind me stood a man I had never seen before. Tall, shirt sleeves rolled, jacket slung over his shoulder, a half smile, the kind that carries more than it says. "Excuse me?" I asked, trying to sound indifferent. He smiled faintly, raising his hands in a calm gesture. "Just an observation. A gaze that steady usually means something." My chest went cold. Did he know? "And you are?" "The groom's brother," he said, extending his hand. "Lucas." I swallowed hard before taking it. "Emily." "I know who you are," he said. "I've heard about you. Just not enough." "Bad things?" "Too few things." We fell into silence for a few moments. My throat was dry. I couldn't tell if he was merely being polite, or if there was something deeper behind that curious look. Then he nodded toward Daniel and Sarah on the dance floor. "They look happy." I gave the slightest nod. "Yes, they're beautiful together." Lucas looked at me as though he could see through me. "Yeah, but what burns on the inside doesn't always match what shows on the outside." I didn't answer, because any word in that moment would have sounded like confession. He didn't press, just smiled, picked up 2 glasses of wine from a passing tray, and handed me one. "At least toast with me, mysterious bridesmaid." I smiled for the first time that night. A tired, uneven, but honest smile. and I drank. It wasn't the ending I imagined, but maybe it was the beginning of something different. Or simply the final period I needed to, at last, move on. After the wedding, I spent entire days in silence. Not the kind of silence that screams drama, but the kind that settles in when you grow tired even of your own pain. I woke up, showered, answered emails, put on foundation even if I never left the house. I took work calls, did everything on autopilot. But inside, it felt like nothing was really working. Sarah and I spoke a few times. Light, distant conversations. I dodged her invitations, skipped Sunday lunches, ignored her funny video calls. I said I was buried in work, that things were hectic. She believed me, or wanted to, and so did I. It wasn't anger, it wasn't jealousy, it was just absence. His absence in my messages, her absence in the little things, my absence in my own routine. It was on a rainy Wednesday that I ran into Lucas again. I was leaving an endless meeting, feet soaked, head heavy, when I slipped into a cafe near the office to escape the drizzle. He was there, standing at the counter with 2 cups in his hands, waiting for change. "Emily?" he said, surprise flickering in his eyes. "Hi," I answered, caught off guard. "You doing okay?" "I am. Tired, but I am." He nodded, smiled faintly. "That's good." I smiled back. No exaggeration, no undertone, just a smile. "Good seeing you," he said, lifting the cups before leaving with a small nod. And that was it. Just a brief encounter. 2 coffees, 2 sentences. But that night, lying in bed with rain tapping against the glass, I thought of him, of how steady his gaze was, of how he didn't look away, how he didn't try to fill the silence with jokes. He simply saw me, really saw me. And for a second, just one, I wondered if I would ever allow myself to be seen again. Not by him, not yet, but by someone. By myself. Maybe, someday. That coffee with Lucas had been only a moment, but somehow, it stayed. Maybe because it was the first time in weeks that someone looked at me without knowing what I carried. Or maybe because of that very reason. Days went by the way they do after a grief no one else can see. I was there, in meetings, in traffic, organizing spreadsheets, yet part of me was still hiding somewhere between a wedding aisle and a half-open office door. Sarah sent me honeymoon pictures now and then. Daniel appeared in some. In most, he was smiling, and in all, I pretended not to see. I replied with emojis, hearts, a generic line or 2, until I stopped replying altogether. She noticed, called me twice. I texted back saying I needed some time for myself. She understood, or wanted to, and so did I. Then Lucas reappeared, 2 weeks later, in another cafe. Another coincidence. "This is starting to feel staged," he said when he saw me. This time I laughed. Maybe we just share the same bad taste in coffee. He pulled out a chair. Didn't ask permission, but didn't force presence either. He sat like someone who understands another's silence. We spoke little. About work, the weather, politics. Neither of us mentioned Daniel, or Sarah. But when our eyes met, there was something there. A kind of recognition. As if he knew I was trying hard not to look broken. And as if he were saying, with his eyes, "It's okay. I've got my own pieces too." We started seeing each other more. Always by chance, until chance stopped being chance. One day he messaged me. Later he invited me to an event. And I went. He wasn't like Daniel. And at first, that confused me. Lucas was more direct, less mysterious, more grounded, more whole. And yet, when he brushed my arm lightly or held my gaze too long, I felt something strange stir inside me. Guilt. Guilt for feeling something for someone who wasn't Daniel. Guilt for maybe having idealized Daniel too much. Guilt for wanting so badly something that perhaps was never real. And one day, I said it out loud. We were sitting on a park bench, sipping coffee from paper cups. The sky was gray. "Lucas, I don't know if I can." "Can what?" he asked. No drama, no rush. Trust someone again. Feel something, without this sense that I'm betraying someone. "You're not," he replied. "You're just trying to live." I looked at him, and in that moment, I wanted to believe it. The weeks that followed were a blur of confusion. I'd come home from work, throw together something simple for dinner, and sit on the couch with my phone in hand, too afraid to open social media. Sarah didn't post much, but when she did, it was always him. Daniel smiling against some honeymoon backdrop. Daniel holding her hand. Daniel looking at the camera as if life were simple. And maybe it was, for him. I avoided my sister as much as I could without seeming cruel. I faked colds, invented deadlines, claimed exhaustion. The truth was, it wasn't her I was avoiding. It was him. Or maybe it was the version of myself I no longer wanted to face. In the third week, I had an external meeting, and by chance it was near that cafe. The same one where I had first run into Lucas. I walked in, ordered a cappuccino, sat by the window, and when I lifted my eyes, he was there. Again. That same steady gaze, that same calm posture. "Are you following me?" I asked, half smiling. He chuckled. "Actually, I'm usually here. You're the one invading my territory." We talked for about 10 minutes. Scattered phrases, comments about traffic, the weather, the food. Nothing much. But something in his eyes unsettled me. Not because he reminded me of Daniel, but because he didn't. His presence was different. Quieter, less consuming, almost safe. When we said goodbye, he reached out his hand, and I hesitated before taking it. It was a brief, warm touch, but for some reason, it left me restless. That night, lying in bed, I thought of him. Not in any deep or romantic way, just a vague memory of his smile, of the slow cadence in his voice. But it was enough. The next day, he sent me a message. "If you want to invade my territory again, I'll be there tomorrow, 4 p.m. I didn't reply, but at 4 p.m. I was there. We had coffee together, laughed about trivial things. He told me about his older brother, who, ironically, was Daniel, and inside, I froze. I don't know if he noticed. I think he did, but he said nothing. When we left, he walked me to the subway, and before parting, he said, "You always seem to have one foot in the present, and the other somewhere you've already been." I had no response, just an awkward smile, and I stepped into the train. In the days that followed, he began sending me short messages, asking about my day, sharing small, funny things he'd seen. And for some reason I replied. No commitment, no promises, but I replied. Then one night Sarah called. She was glowing, eager to see me. I agreed, too tired to find another excuse. We met at a downtown restaurant. She was radiant, talking about plans to buy a bigger apartment, about the dinners she now hosted on Fridays, about her dreams. And then casually she said, "Daniel's been talking about you." My heart skipped. "Has he?" "He said you've changed, that you seem distant. He asked if you were okay." I swallowed hard. "I'm fine. Just tired." She smiled. "He worries about you, you know?" I said nothing. On the way home, sleep refused me. I tossed, hugged my pillow, turned 1,000 times. And when the stillness of night finally wrapped around me, I picked up my phone, typed a message to Lucas. "Are you awake?" The reply came quickly. "Yes. Want to come over, just to talk?" He arrived half an hour later, with a beer in hand and a quiet smile. We sat on the living room floor, like two misplaced teenagers. We talked about everything, about nothing, about longings we couldn't name, and at some point, we kissed. A slow kiss, an honest one, without promises, without urgency, different from everything I had with Daniel. But even with my eyes closed, even with my body yielding, a part of me was still back there, in the office, at the party, caught between what was and what never should have been. After the kiss, an uneasy silence settled between us. He didn't pull away. Neither did I. But there was something in his eyes, something that wasn't desire nor surprise. It was knowing, a quiet discomfort. Lucas set the bottle against the side of the couch, leaned his arms on his knees, and said, in a calm tone that hurt more than any shout could, "I know." My breath faltered for a second. "No, what?" He met my eyes. "About you and Daniel." I froze. My stomach sank, as if every word I could reach for had slipped beneath water. He went on. "He told me, not long after the wedding." "Why?" I managed to whisper. "Because I'm his brother, and because he couldn't carry it alone." "He told you out of guilt?" I asked, bitter. "Maybe." Lucas shrugged. "Or maybe because he thought I'd understand." "And did you?" "No." His answer was sharp. But I listened. I stood, hands trembling, and walked to the window. I wanted air, distance, a body that wasn't mine. "You came here knowing all this?" I asked, still not facing him. "Yes." "Why?" "Because..." He hesitated. "Because despite everything, I wanted to meet the woman he almost destroyed it all for." I shut my eyes tight. The pain rose in waves. I didn't want this, Lucas. I didn't chase him. I know. I could read between the lines. He told me he was leaving, that it was goodbye. It was. But it was also cowardice. We fell into silence. The distant sounds of the street felt louder than they should. Lucas stepped closer, slowly. "I didn't come here to throw this in your face." "But you did." "I came because, even knowing, I still wanted to." He drew a long breath. "And because, when you looked at me in that cafe, I saw something else. I saw someone trying to survive their own mistake." I turned toward him. "You want to punish me?" "No." "Then why stay?" "Because..." He paused, searching. "I don't think anyone is only the worst thing they've done." I stayed quiet for a few moments. Then I walked to the door. "You should go." Lucas nodded. He picked up the bottle, his steps light, his gaze lighter still. Before leaving, he stopped and said, "I don't know what this means, but if you ever want to talk without hiding, I'll be around." The door closed, and with it, a new kind of silence began. In the days that followed, I tried to convince myself that Lucas was nothing more than a distraction, that the kiss, the way he looked at me, the way he listened, were only emotional detours, keeping me from facing what still hurt. But deep down, I knew he was edging closer, a little more each day, without haste, without promises. It was on a Friday night that everything shifted. Lucas sent a casual message. "No plans tonight. And you?" Minutes later, he was at my door. White shirt, sleeves rolled, a quiet smile tugging at the corner of his mouth, as if he already knew something had been decided between us, without a single word spoken. "Wine?" I asked, trying to sound natural. "Only if it's to toast your silence. You've been different since your sister's wedding." I laughed, nervous. "Maybe I've just been pretending to be stronger than I really am." "And how's that working out?" He stepped closer. Then again, until his voice dropped too low for any distraction. "Because if it's not, I'm here." It wasn't the kiss that caught me off guard. It was the gentleness, the care, as if he were afraid to touch what still ached. But after that, care gave way to want. His hand slid down my back as he pressed me against the kitchen counter. The kiss grew stronger, urgent. He lifted me by the thighs, carried me to the sofa. And when his white shirt hit the floor, my fingers traced the heat of his skin as if they could erase everything that came before him. The problem was, they couldn't. When he laid me down firmly against the cushions, when his breath quickened at my neck, when his whole body pressed into mine, it slipped out. Daniel. Silence. A second. That was all. He pulled back, searched my eyes with something I couldn't decipher. Pain, anger, compassion. But he said nothing. He only kissed me harder, as if he could erase the name I had spoken. As if, for a few minutes, he could become anything that would pull me out of that place. The night went on, intense, fevered, full of muffled sounds and tangled breaths. But the silence of the next morning was louder than it all. The bed was empty when I woke. The pillow beside me still warm, but he was gone. On the nightstand, a handwritten note. Daniel? No, Emily, I'm not Daniel. And honestly, Daniel doesn't deserve you. Lucas vanished. No messages, no calls, no attempt to explain the note, or to know how I had received it. And maybe he was right. Maybe there was nothing left to explain. In the first days, I buried myself in work. Meetings, deadlines, emails. But at night, when the city lights flickered lonely against my window, his silence pressed heavier against me. Strange to admit, but I missed him. The way he looked at me. The calm he carried, even when he challenged me. The way he seemed to know my wounds before I ever spoke them. On the fourth night of the following week, I climbed the stairs more drained than usual. Not the kind of exhaustion that comes from the body. This was emotional wear, a heaviness that lived somewhere between my chest and my stomach. But when I turned the corner, I stopped. Daniel was there, leaning against the wall beside my door, like someone who had been waiting too long. Light blue shirt, sleeves rolled, beard thicker than I remembered. Emily, I didn't know how to reach you. I figured you wouldn't answer if I called. I stood still for 2 seconds. Then I walked to the door, unlocked it. I said nothing, just opened it, stepped inside, and let him follow. He entered with that look, trying to appear confident, but waited with hesitation. I needed to see you, he said. That's all? Why? Because I've thought of you. Every day since... Don't do this, Daniel. He drew a deep breath, sat on the arm of the couch, as if unsure where to put himself. Sarah is incredible. I love her. But there are things between us that were left unresolved. And maybe if we had met at another time. But it wasn't another time, Daniel. It was this one. And you made your choice. He searched my face, as if hoping to find a crack. But there were none. I had closed them all. I think you should go, really. He nodded slowly, stood, and when I opened the door for him to leave, Lucas was standing on the other side, hand already raised, as if he had been about to knock. For a moment, no one said a word. Daniel froze. Lucas, too, his eyes flicking between me and him with an unsettling clarity, and me, still holding the doorknob, unsure what to do. Ah. Daniel shook his head with a cynical smile. Of course, makes sense. It's not what you think, I blurted, an idiotic impulse, and I regretted it the moment the words escaped. Lucas remained silent. He simply stepped back, slowly, looked at me again, then at Daniel. How interesting, he murmured. Very interesting. And he left, without another word. Daniel brushed past him right after, still throwing me a look I refused to return. I closed the door slowly, and for the first time in days, I didn't cry. Not because it didn't hurt, but because somehow it hurt even more. His silence stretched across the following days like a shadow trailing me everywhere I went. It wasn't like Daniel's silence, heavy with guilt, with repressed desire, with unfinished goodbyes. This was another kind of silence, cleaner, sharper. Lucas had vanished. No replies to my messages, no scene marks, no likes. He wasn't at the cafe anymore, the place where I used to stumble across him. It was as if he had erased himself from the world, or at least from mine. And me, I went on, not out of strength, but out of inertia. I took out the trash, answered emails, grabbed random lunches, showed up to work like a body on autopilot. But at night, when the world quieted, I felt the true weight of his absence. It wasn't just the sex. It wasn't just the kiss. It was the way he looked at me after I called him Daniel. There hadn't been anger. There had been a silent kind of pain, like someone who understood everything and still wanted to hold me. And that was what hurt most, because I knew he was different, and I ruined it. Again. I tried to justify it to myself. It was just a name. I was confused. He provoked me too. But deep down I knew. I knew that the name that slipped from my lips was the one still living inside me, even if I didn't want it there anymore. Lucas felt that. And he left. I began walking slower along the sidewalks, maybe hoping to bump into him again. I went back twice to the cafe where I'd last seen him. The second time, I bought a coffee and stood on the sidewalk with it in my hand, not knowing where to go. I didn't cry. I didn't panic. But it hurt to live not knowing if he would ever return. Missing him felt different. It wasn't loud. It was an absence that tightened in the quietest places. And still, I kept waking up each day. But something inside me had changed. It had been 12 days. I counted. 12 days since the note. Since that night he walked away without another word. No messages, no calls. As if he had played his part and closed the story there. And in a way, he had. But I hadn't. I still glanced at the door sometimes, breath catching when the intercom rang. I still waited for something, anything, to tell me it hadn't been just another emotional wreckage to throw on the pile. Days slipped by. Coffee, subway, office. Sarah sent a few messages. I answered with emojis and excuses. I dodged lunches, avoided family gatherings, lived on autopilot. Until one day, I stopped waiting. And that's when he appeared. I was leaving the pharmacy when I saw him across the street. Dark jacket, hair tousled by the wind. Lucas. Just Lucas. No warning, no explanation. Our eyes met, and for a few seconds, neither of us moved. A car horn blared, a dog barked, an old woman stumbled on the sidewalk, but all of it felt too far away to matter. I crossed. "You okay?" I asked, because it was what people asked in moments like that, even if it wasn't what I wanted to say. He nodded, but didn't smile. "And you?" he returned quietly. "I'm fine." I lied. "Just getting by." He looked down, then back at me, and spoke as if holding the words for days. "I didn't want to leave like that." "But you did." Silence. "I called you Daniel," I said, breaking the air between us like confessing a crime. Lucas let out a dry laugh, humorless. "I know. It was a mistake. I was confused." I went on, knowing he didn't need to hear it. I needed to say it. He looked at me again. Less anger now, more exhaustion. "It wasn't the name that bothered me, Emily." "Then what?" "The way you said it." That hit me. We stood there on the sidewalk, surrounded by strangers rushing past, unaware of what existed in the space between us. Lucas breathed deep, as if rehearsing a goodbye. But instead he said, "I've been thinking about you, even trying not to." My throat tightened. Me too. Another silence. But this time, it was different. Not the weight of resentment, not of doubt. Something rawer, truer. He fidgeted with the keys in his pocket, glanced away. Can I walk you home? I nodded, said nothing. And we walked, side by side, in silence. But for the first time in days, that silence didn't hurt. When we got there, Lucas didn't say much. He closed the door behind him, not harshly, but with that quiet firmness that made every gesture of his feel careful. Like someone who observes, understands, waits, and maybe even forgives. He just looked at me. For long seconds, no words passed between us. Just that thick silence that comes when something is about to happen, or to collapse. But this wasn't collapse. It was acceptance. I walked toward him, slowly, barefoot against the cold floor of my apartment, with a heart burning too hot for reason. When I stopped in front of him, my face was inches from his, and still he waited. Waited for me to speak, to step back, to confirm. I did none of the three. I just kissed him. But it was different this time. Not rushed. Not an escape. An offering. He answered with restrained hunger, like he'd been saving that moment for days, months, a lifetime. His hands traced firmly down my back, then rose to cup my face, as if to memorize the shape of my skin before anything else. We stumbled toward the bedroom, between kisses and muffled laughter, like reckless teenagers, but with the intensity of two adults already marked by their pasts. When our clothes began to fall, one by one, there was no awkwardness, only reverence, as if our bodies recognized what our minds still questioned. I remember pulling off his shirt and pausing at the scar on his left shoulder. He noticed, smiled faintly. "Skate accident," he whispered. "It looks good on you," I replied, before pulling him back to me. The bed welcomed us with tangled sheets and broken breaths, and for the first time in a long while, I felt whole. Not because of him, not because of me, but because of the meeting of the two. There was desire, yes, but also care. Hands that didn't just touch, but held. Eyes that said, "I know you're wounded, and still, I want to see you whole." And when he entered me, there was no haste. There was intensity, hunger, silence broken by whispered words between kisses, our bodies seeking and finding each other as if they'd done so in another life. My fingers dug into his back the moment he whispered my name in the dark. And it was my name, not someone else's. We made love with urgency and tenderness, like two people afraid to lose, but brave enough to risk anyway. After, we lay there, together, breathing in rhythm. His hand rested on my stomach, as if to keep me close. The night seeped through the half-open window, and for a moment, everything felt at peace. I fell asleep with my head on his chest, and he stayed awake a while, stroking my hair in silence, as if to say without words, "I'm here, and this time, I'm not leaving." I woke to the sound of the doorbell. I turned slowly, still dazed with sleep, my body heavy, the kind of heaviness that comes after giving yourself completely. Lucas was beside me, asleep on his side, his breathing deep and steady. Morning light slipped through the curtains, and for a moment, I wanted to ignore the world waiting on the other side of the door. But the bell rang again. I rolled my eyes, grabbed the first t-shirt I found on the floor, and walked to the door with messy hair and a tightness in my chest, as if I already knew some fragile line in my story was about to snap. I opened it. "Good morning." Sarah burst in with her usual enthusiasm, arms full of croissants, juice, and a radiant smile. "Guess who came to help me drag you out of your cave?" And then I saw him. Daniel, standing just behind her. Brows furrowed, eyes cold. He didn't say a word. He just stepped inside, hands in his pockets, shoulders drawn tight. "We brought breakfast," Sarah went on, oblivious. "I had this feeling, I swear. Dreamed you were here all alone, curled up on the couch, and thought, we need to cheer Emily up." With each step she took toward the kitchen, panic spread wider in my chest. "Did you make pancakes yesterday?" she asked casually, glancing at the dishes in the sink. "Or was it a romantic dinner?" That's when Lucas appeared in the hallway. Bare-chested, hair tousled, eyes wide at the sight of unexpected company. He froze by the bedroom door. Sarah's eyes went wide. "Oh, my God!" she exclaimed, grinning. "You and Lucas? Seriously? Why didn't you tell me? Are you two together?" She jumped with excitement, like a child discovering a secret too delicious to keep. But Daniel didn't move. His eyes swept from my face to Lucas's body, then back to me. His expression curdled with surprise, jealousy, and something close to contempt. "Since when?" he asked, voice straining for neutrality but too heavy to hide. "Daniel," I faltered. I didn't owe him an answer, but somehow, I did. "You two?" he pressed, now staring directly at Lucas. "This is a joke, right?" Lucas folded his arms, steady. "It's none of your business, Daniel." The silence was knife-sharp. Sarah looked between us, her smile unraveling into confusion. "Wait," she said slowly. "What's going on here?" And in that instant, I saw it in her eyes. She knew. She sensed it. I wanted to speak, to explain, to beg forgiveness for something that maybe didn't even have a name. But time didn't give me the chance. Daniel let out a bitter laugh. Of course it would be him. The brother who's always ready to grab whatever I drop. Lucas stepped forward, jaw clenched. "You didn't drop anything, Daniel. You never had it." The ground beneath me seemed to disappear. Sarah now stood between us, caught in the middle of a puzzle that refused to make sense. I drew a breath, my voice trembling. "You came at the worst possible time. I'm sorry." Sarah's gaze cut into me, wounded. Daniel looked at her as if he already knew everything and didn't want to hear another word. And Lucas simply stayed where he was, at my side, silent, but unmoving. Sarah didn't call me in the 2 days that followed. No messages, no silly stickers. No random voice notes like the ones she always sent when she had gossip from work. Her silence was worse than any scream. I tried sending a simple, "Hey, are you okay?" But the message just sat there, unanswered. And time, instead of healing, only seemed to scratch the wound deeper. Lucas had vanished too. That same day, after Daniel left, he had picked his shirt up from the couch and kissed my forehead. A strange kiss, without promise, without direction. "I need to think," was all he said before closing the door. I knew he hadn't left in anger, but he had left in fear. And I stayed there, sitting on the kitchen floor, the smell of croissants still lingering in the air, with the crushing feeling that something precious had slipped through my fingers before I even realized it. The week that followed, I returned to my routine like a shadow of myself. Work, home, work, home. My coworkers told me I looked tired. I replied with an automatic smile. All I wanted was for the days to pass quickly, like when you're stuck somewhere you don't belong. Sarah still hadn't reached out, and Lucas, not a single word. It wasn't until 2 weeks later, on an ordinary Tuesday, that he appeared. I was coming back from the gym, sweaty, hair tied back, grocery bags in hand. I walked into the building with my head down, and only noticed someone waiting near my door when I recognized the sneakers he always wore. Lucas, sitting on the hallway floor back against the wall, his eyes tired. "You disappeared," I said, my throat tightening. I needed to understand whether what I felt for you was anger, pity, or love The world went quiet for a beat. Only the hum of the elevator and the jingle of my keys broke the silence. "And did you?" He stood slowly, stopping close to me. I understood it was never pity, and anger doesn't last this long. "And love?" He smiled, crooked, restrained. "I'm still trying to figure out if you feel it too." I took a deep breath, my chest tight, and unlocked the door. "Come in. I still have some wine from last time." He stepped inside, and this time, it wasn't just desire. It was something heavier, because it carried choice, risk, consequence. We sat on the couch, in silence for a few minutes. "Sarah won't talk to me anymore," I finally said. "And Daniel?" "He left town," Lucas answered. "Says he's working somewhere else for a while. I don't know if he's coming back. Don't even know if he wants to. And you?" "I'm here." He took my hand, and for the first time in weeks, I let myself cry. But it wasn't only sadness. It was relief. It was fear of starting over, and the longing to make it work. It was the weight of everything that had been, and the lightness of everything that could still be. Autumn arrived without asking permission. The trees lining my street were splashed with orange and red, and the wind seemed to whisper memories I was still trying to forget. Sarah had moved away. She said she needed a fresh start, a new city, new projects. Daniel went with her, and for the first time in months I could finally breathe. Over time, the silence between me and my sister stopped hurting so sharply. It wasn't an abyss anymore. It was a scar, one I was learning to live with. Lucas was still around. He wasn't like Daniel. Not intense, not unpredictable. He was steady, calm, present. He listened, he noticed. And slowly, I began building something close to peace. Or at least, relief. But peace always has an expiration date when the past still breathes. It was on a Thursday evening, leaving the office, that Daniel appeared. I was adjusting the strap of my bag on my shoulder when I saw the silhouette leaning against a black car across the street. My heart stopped. The coat he wore, I recognized. His hands in his pockets, his eyes fixed on me. "Hey," he said quietly, like he was afraid to scare the moment away. I froze, looked around, half convinced I was hallucinating. But no, he was there, real, again. "What are you doing here?" "I came back to the city. Alone." He nodded. "I left Sarah." The word slammed into me like a hammer to the chest. I didn't know if it was relief, anger, or guilt I felt. Probably all three at once. "It was the hardest decision of my life," he went on. "But I'd be lying if I said I didn't think of you every single day since then." Anger rose like fire in my throat. "And Sarah? Did you think of her?" "I did. And I thought about how we were trapped in a lie, one we both built, pretending not to see what was right in front of us." I shook my head. "Daniel, don't..." But he crossed the street, closed the distance, and before I could say another word, he pulled me by the waist and kissed me. It was quick, fierce, burning, but not like before. It was heavier, darker, more dangerous. And still, my body answered. When he pulled back, he looked at me like a man both begging and already certain of the reply. I needed to feel that again, just once more. Because, even if you send me away now, I needed to look in your eyes and tell you, I choose you. I chose you, even when you weren't mine to choose. Now, all that's left is for you to choose me back. He stepped away slowly, as if leaving the weight of the decision in my hands, and I stood there, lips still warm, heart racing, soul divided. Lucas gave me peace. He made me laugh. He made me breathe deeply at the end of a long day. But Daniel set me on fire. They were strange days, not because of anything that happened outwardly, but for everything that was happening inside me. Lucas kissed me the way he always did, held me the way he always did, made coffee in the morning, straightened my coat before we left, rested his hand on my knee during idle conversations. He was there, and so was I. Only, a part of me wasn't. Daniel had come back. Not just to the city, but into my body, my mind, my history. And the worst part was that I couldn't bring myself to hate him for it. I felt sullied, as if everything I'd had with Lucas had been a hiding place, a desperate attempt to sweep under the rug what had never really gone away. Daniel didn't seek me out in the days that followed, and that gnawed at me. I began waking in the middle of the night, drenched in sweat, after dreaming of him, of that kiss, of those words. I chose you. Now you have to choose me. But what about Sarah? What about everything that had happened? And the fact that I was still her sister, the sister of the woman he had left. Guilt burned quietly under my ribs. But desire was gasoline. A week later, Sarah texted, "I'm thinking of coming into town to sort some things out. Want to have lunch?" I answered too fast, a sure that sounded too eager to be natural. She never came. Later, she said something came up, that Daniel had to return early, and she didn't want to come alone. She didn't know Daniel was already in town. Alone. Or that he'd kissed me as if I were the most dangerous secret in his life. I started avoiding him, crossed the street to miss him, stayed clear of the cafe where we used to run into each other. I even saw Lucas less, until one rainy late afternoon, when I was surprised at my building gate. He was there. Daniel, hands in his pockets, the same dark coat, hair wet. "We need to talk." "No, we don't. Just listen to me, Emily. Just once." I sighed, tired of myself, of him, of what we'd become. "You asked me for a choice, Daniel, and I can't make it. My voice broke. I'm not a bad person. He drew me close gently. This time he didn't kiss me. He only rested his forehead against mine. "I never loved your sister. I tried. God knows I tried. But it's always been you. Since that first night. And what do you want me to do with that?" "Nothing. I just needed you to know." That night, Lucas arrived with pizza, smiling, wet from the rain, carrying my favorite. I cried in the bathroom, because the world had been cruel to someone like him. And because, maybe for the first time, I understood I had something to lose. That afternoon, I was decided to end whatever was eating me from the inside. I took a taxi up to the old building where Daniel lived, climbed the stairwell, and when I pressed the elevator button, my hands began to shake. With every floor the car passed, a part of me screamed that I was about to cross a line with no return. Then, in the mirror's reflection, I really saw myself. Tired eyes, shoulders heavy, as if I carried a secret that no longer belonged to me. It hit me there. I didn't want it anymore. It wasn't love. It never had been. It was a wound dressed up as desire. When the elevator doors opened, I didn't step out. I hit ground floor, rode back down, and took another taxi home, my heart pounding out of rhythm, and for the first time in weeks, oddly relieved, as if I'd finally done something right. Hours later, Lucas arrived. No smile, no pizza, no small talk. He just came in, closed the door, and looked at me like I had become a stranger. "I was at Daniel's building," he said, voice steady, almost cold. "I saw you go in." My body froze. "Lucas, Don't bother denying it. I went there." He opened the door himself. His voice cracked for a second, but he didn't look away. "Just tell me one thing. Did you choose him?" My breath hitched. My whole body wanted to run from that question. But there was no running anymore. "I went there, yes," I admitted, tears already falling. "But I didn't go in. I gave up in the elevator." He closed his eyes for a moment, as if gathering each word into himself. Why? I swallowed hard. For the first time, I spoke the whole truth. Because I realized what I felt for Daniel was never love. It was cruel, wrong, selfish. He would never make me happy. And I would never forgive myself. And me? He asked, whispering. What am I to you, Emily? I stepped closer, touched his face. You are what remains true. You are the thing that brings me peace, not the chaos that destroys me. I love you, Lucas. I had to face the worst in myself to understand that. He was silent, watching me as if searching for any trace of falsehood. There was none. For the first time, there was none. When he finally spoke, his voice was low and thick with feeling. I wanted to believe you. And in that instant, I knew. Believing in me was the hardest thing he'd ever been asked to do. In the days that followed, words weren't enough. I knew Lucas wouldn't believe only what I said. I had to show him. I showed it by staying. By choosing him. Every single day. In small gestures. Making coffee the way he liked it. Listening to his stories from work with real attention. Holding his hand without fear it would be mistaken for a silent apology. I wanted it to be a new beginning, not forgiveness forced upon him. There were long silences. Nights when he would turn to the other side of the bed and I cried quietly, afraid he might hear. But there were also mornings when he draped his coat over my shoulders because I'd forgotten my umbrella, and afternoons when he waited at the gate just to walk me home. It wasn't easy. Broken trust doesn't return whole. It has to be stitched back together, thread by thread. And I was willing to sew. What mattered was Lucas. The way he, even wounded, still believed there was something between us worth the effort. Months later, on an ordinary afternoon, we were on the couch laughing at something silly on TV. He looked at me sideways, serious, as if weighing words in silence before speaking. I believe you, he said plainly. The tears came instantly, and I didn't bother to hide them. Not tears of guilt, but of relief. Because finally, I had found my way back home. A few years passed. Sometimes I still catch myself remembering those days, like flipping through an album I'd rather keep tucked away at the bottom of a drawer. Not with pain, but with the clarity of knowing how much I almost lost. Today, Lucas and I have our routines, our little rituals. He still makes coffee in the morning. I still leave my keys in the wrong bag, and we laugh about it as if it were new. We've learned to choose each other again, every day. Not because we forgot what happened, but because we decided our story was worth more than the past. I never saw Daniel again. Every now and then, someone mentions his name in a distant conversation, and all I feel is an echo. Nothing more. And Sarah. She built her life in another city. Our relationship changed, but it didn't end. We've learned to love each other with silence and distance, because sometimes the love between sisters doesn't fit into daily embraces. What remained was one certainty. Love is not the fire that devours, but the flame that endures. And when I look at Lucas, I know life gave me the chance to understand that before it was too late. He still holds my hand in the middle of ordinary conversations. And when he does, I know I am home.